Hello, everyone, or should I say, my little love muffins. I am your host, Ayana. You are tuning into the Relationship Therapy Podcast, a safe space for you to be vulnerable and honest with yourself about love. Yes, we all may have differences, but ultimately, we all want the same thing: to love, to be loved, and to express what we are truly feeling. So, welcome. On this podcast, you will be getting new episodes on a regular basis that talk about various topics around love, relationships, the church, and marriage, amongst many other similar topics. Once again, thank you for taking some of your precious time to spend it here with me today. So make sure you subscribe to keep up to date on my newest episodes. And if you have any questions, comments, or special requests, feel more than free to email me directly at therelationshipremedy@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's podcast. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Relationship Therapy Refined podcast. I am your host, Ayana, and I'm here with my guest, Octavia. And hey. And she's gonna be chilling with me today and helping me with this topic. So obviously you all know you're listening to Relationship Therapy Refined, where it's a safe space for you to be open, vulnerable, and challenged through the various topics that we will be discussing. So this is a non-judgmental free zone. We're going to ruffle some feathers, but most importantly, I want to cultivate a community where my listeners are free to ask tough questions and, have like group discussion. So there's no right or wrong answers here. This is simply coming from my own experiences, and I'm giving you a little honest, Christian perspective. And I just want to let you know I am not a therapist whatsoever, a licensed therapist. This is all for your entertainment purposes only. That's a disclosure. So yes, I'm Ayana again. I'm here with Octavia, and she's going to be my co-host.
Hello.
Hey, Octavia, let them know a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I am Octavia. I am also not a therapist as of yet. Maybe one day. Amen. Hallelujah. I claim it. And I love talking about all things relational, as it has to do with friendships, as it has to do with relationships. The end.
But you tell them what you're in school for.
So I'm going to school to pursue my marriage and family therapy degree.
See, so she is in school for it. So she's.
Yes, I am. I am. I am. So do I know everything yet? No, not at all. Have I accumulated some experiences along the way? I have. Some I wish I never did. Some I won't be claiming. Some I'm pretty sure I forgot about. But anything that has to do with building relationships, cultivating it, I'm your girl. I love talking about these, and I'm not afraid to talk about any of these topics.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to heal from a broken heart. So what is a broken heart concerning relationships? It is the universal emotional response to the sudden, unexpected, or unwanted loss of love, or it is often characterized by an intense longing, hurt, or desire for an ex or unrequited love. What do you think of that? What is your definition of a broken heart?
Broken heart is when your expectations in a relationship did not pan out the way you wanted it to, and it probably resulted in a disastrous situation, or just, it just didn't go the way that you wanted to. And so your feelings got hurt. Thus resulted in a broken heart.
That's right.
So I think it starts with the expectations. And I also think it starts with our desires, right? So what it is that we want, same thing, what we expect from that person. Maybe some of those things may be a little unrealistic.
Mm.
And unfortunately, that person is willing or unwilling to meet those needs. And then, led to a series of events, which led to me crying on my couch because he broke my heart.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
those, I guess, like effects of a broken heart can be like loss of appetite. I guess when people's in relationships, sometimes they don't even realize how stressed out they can get from just losing something that you've I guess
Very
expected
much so.
to be, forever. You can lose weight,
Yep.
you can lose loss of appetite, you become introverted, and you could become secluded as well, just wanting to be by yourself. And that right there is a little scary.
It is. It really is. I've been there. Have you been there?
Of course, we're gonna get
I've
into
been there.
some things.
Yeah. I mean, I ain't trying to jump the gun or anything, but I'm just like, listen. Or it could be not for me. I wish. Some people just eat their feelings.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Not me.
It's just an
I
easy
wish.
way, to just cope. And that's just another coping mechanism that some people eat it out, they write it out, they draw it out, they even
Fight it out, fight it out, dance it out. I love to
everything.
dance. I love to
Yeah.
dance. I
Any
would
way
just
you
prefer
could
to dance
relieve
it out.
stress.
Shop it out. Which could
Don't
be
do that. Don't get
disastrous
into
in my
debt,
bank
though.
account. I know. That could be completely disastrous. However, space bar, it will actually be a good thing. Well, for me, okay, well, let's get into it a little bit real quick.
Go ahead, girl.
For me, though, the one thing that always makes me feel better about myself after a breakup is a good hairstyle. I got my hair done. Anything I'm wearing to me looks good, which will ultimately make me feel good. It'll better my mood, my attitude, my thought process. So, spend a little coin on a good wig, a good weave, a
Of
good
course.
washing set, blow dry, flat iron, go and get you a silk press.
Yes.
Whatever it is, however, as long as it's not too costly that you end up compromising yourself.
Right.
So don't go out there and go do something that is ultimately going to make matters worse for you. You understand what I'm saying?
Of course. Self-care is important.
It is.
It's very important for your mind.
For real. And don't just, get over somebody by getting under somebody. Like, let's not do that. Not yet. Just wait. Just hang on.
Right. We're going to talk about that too. We're definitely going to talk about that as well. So, who is the author of love? Where does love come from?
Well, as the believers that we are, we believe God is love. So it starts with him first and foremost. For me, it does. It took me a while to realize that. So God, and then learning to love yourself so that you can love one another. But God is love.
Right. In 1 Corinthians 13, 4-5, it says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. That's a lot right there. There's a lot right there.
It is. It is.
It's a lot. It's just like, woo, okay. Lord have mercy. It's not angered. It's not envy. Those are some strong words right there. So,
but it's only, I believe, it's only the power of the Holy Spirit that can help transform someone's life.
Of course.
So that they can walk in love, in peace,
right.
and goodness, and kindness. It's
of
only
course.
the fruit of the Spirit that could help us live that type of empowered life, for real.
Of course. It protects, it trusts, it hopes, it preserves, it never fails. So it's clear, obviously, the author of love is the Lord. So how is it that, I guess, our human selves cannot be able to, I guess, share that love to
We're
someone.
fallible, sinful creatures. I mean, we're a mess. This is why we
Exactly.
need Jesus. Like, and I think part of it too is it's learned. It has to be learned because I also believe love is a choice.
Mm,
So these are the things that we have to learn. And unfortunately, if you haven't been given a good example, you haven't been taught, you haven't been shown love,
mm,
um, even in your correction, even in discipline, that's forms of love too. And
it
so
is.
if you don't experience these things, or if it's been perverted or whatever the case may be, it's gonna make the journey a little bit harder for sure.
Mm, exactly. And even with First John like 4:16 says, and so we know and rely on the love of God, the love that God has for us. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in him. So obviously what you said is 100% correct. Like love is learned. And honestly, even if you haven't had a true example of what love is, if you were raised by a single parent and you didn't really necessarily see like a man figure in your house. Like for me, my mother, I was raised in a single parent home, but my mom always, informed me that the Lord was, my father, and that he loves
Mhm.
me. And
Right.
I understood that, but I also yearned for my earthly father. Like I wish my father was in my
Right,
life
right.
and all
Because he's
that.
supposed to be the example, the living example.
Right. And it was just annoying, I guess, growing up seeing like other kids with their dads and all that stuff. But thank God for mentors. Thank God for father figures who has
Amen.
down the line like what it means to have a true like gentleman in your life and stuff. And like even if you may not have a true example growing up, you can break those generational curses and you can teach yourself what you do not want or what you want to allow in your life. You don't have to tolerate certain things. You need to understand
Right.
your worth personally, but you have to that also comes in line with learning who you are as a person.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a lot. So
I think also, even so, I grew up with both my mom and dad in the house, and there were definitely times where I questioned my father's love for me because of how active he was in my life and participating. Like, you're gonna come to my school shows, my basketball games, like, so even in those cases too, is like, I know you're here physically, but emotionally, are you available?
mm,
So that could be it too. And one of the things I also, to go back to scripture, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he
mm,
gave his only begotten son. And I think one of the biggest things that we can have as an example of love is sacrifice.
mm,
Like, there are times, well, we could get into it later, but I'm married. So I'm married. And one of the things that I had to learn in my marriage, and this is just, reassessing my expectations and this whole big thing. We'll get into that later. But I also learned that the way he loved me was what he sacrificed for me. And I
mm.
had to learn, it's not just, so where my flowers at? Where's the cards and the chocolate candy? I mean, I don't even like chocolate, but I still expect to see the red heart box on Valentine's Day just because, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm just being silly. But in the back of our minds, we want that too.
Of
We
course.
want it. So, but also seeing what someone would sacrifice for you. I mean,
Right.
that definitely tells you um I think it shows like how deep you can love someone.
Right.
Like, truly.
That's true. That's very true. And it's just even what you said, like we both are married. So like sometimes I think people want that fairy tale of marriage, but marriage is just so much more than just a wedding day. It's literally those vows that you take and you say
Yes,
in sickness
ma'am.
and in health,
Yes, ma'am.
through good
Choose your
times,
vows
through bad
carefully,
times.
people.
I'm
Choose
telling
your
you,
vows
because
carefully.
let me tell you, and it's the truth, because sometimes like in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, you may not have a job, you may be out of a job, you may not like your finances at the point.
Well,
Are you gonna leave someone?
well,
You get sick, someone could you leave, like, you know, lose a limb on their arm. Are you not gonna be
sure
able to
can.
love them?
Man, let me tell you, for
It
real.
goes
It
deep.
is. Because you know what is not really okay, so let's talk about it a little bit. We grew up in the same church. And so I think also part of it too, when we're talking about like love and marriage and pursues, being pursued and expectations, all of that, I think part of it too is just your environment. So I think in our church culture, we were conditioned to think a certain type of way, which is not necessarily bad, but you don't get the full knowledge and the scope, I think, of marriage. So, for example, if we are having a relationship panel at our church and you see these couples that you look up to, you know, the relationship goals, oh, they found love on the mission field and now they're gonna be, you know, they're just gonna be serving together forever and it's amazing, the end. Or, you know, the couple that waited and they've never kissed. Matter of fact, they don't even hold hands, and you out here like, man, but he cute and I just want to touch him. And this, but just, well, there's just so much, right, that we've seen and
Right.
experienced. But I think, you know, there's a lot that wasn't taught. There was a lot that was like missed. Like, hey, I didn't get this in my class. Like, I didn't know that marriage is a life of servanthood. And by
Mm,
that, I don't mean you're a doormat and you're being used.
right.
But it's like, no, you
You're
love
constantly dying
so
to yourself.
much. You're dying. Man, listen, that dying part, I joke about it and say marriage is easy. It's the dying part that's
Yes.
the hard.
Yes.
It's the dying part that's the hardest part. You know what I mean? Like, oh, my love, I have no problem opening the door for you so you can walk, pulling out your chair. Oh, but when you said my chicken wasn't seasoned. I'm telling you, the offense that can take. You know, listen, okay, listen,
I don't like how you do my laundry.
girl, we could
A lot of
talk.
things. You gotta
We
you
could talk.
just gotta suck it up and just be like, okay, all right, I got it.
But honestly though, those little offenses can build and build and build and put pressure in relationship, but it needs to be addressed too.
Of
So anyways,
course.
I'm going off on a
No,
tangent.
so we could actually
Going
get
down a
into
rabbit
our
hole.
stories because both of us were engaged before we
Sure
both got
was.
married, prior to having our
Mhm.
husbands now. And both of those engagements were not successful at all. So we went through broken a broken heart. We've experienced it. So
Sure
how
have.
have you, I guess, dealt with the pain, the embarrassment, the,
All of
you
it.
know,
That whole thing, yeah.
that whole shabazz when the world knew you were engaged and then it's like, I'm not getting married.
Oh, that was rough. So, little backstory. Not my husband now. We're talking about relationship prior. So the guy that I was engaged to, I met him when I was in junior high school. We were Valentines, and fast forward, he and his family were in New York for a short period of time. They didn't live here, but they were staying here for work. And so I didn't know that. And then when I found out, I was devastated because, you know, I finally found somebody that liked me and
Mm-hmm.
wanted to spend time with me. And we could finally go to like do like cutesy little things together. Like, I don't know if y'all had those teen Bibles growing up, but you know, when they talk about teen dating, is like you can bake cookies together. And I was like, yay, I found somebody to bake cookies
I
with.
cannot.
All right, before you give the cookie, you gotta bake it. So,
I cannot with
anyways,
you.
so anyways, so anyways, I'm just kidding. No, so I found out that they didn't live here. Fast forward 10 years later, we reconnected. We were pen pals, but then his father thought we were getting too serious, too young. So he was just like, nope, y'all can't talk. And this is before social media. And this is before computers. Like we were writing hand letters, sending photos, you know. And so anyways, we reconnected when he moved to New York City for work, and we went to Israel together. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, this is just so perfect. And so we kind of started talking, that led to dating. And then he proposed on Valentine's Day, which was like our 10th year anniversary of love.
Aw.
Yeah, and so it was sweet. He had got this ring custom made for me. And this honestly was what I thought I wanted, right? And so I didn't really work out that well. So what had happened was on my birthday, I had found out that he was still in communication with some friends from his past.
Mm.
And so I decided, you know what? This is not what I want. This is not how I'm trying to start this journey of marriage at all. I prayed about it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk to his family and I'm going to break it off. And so I did. Now, what I thought would happen afterwards was he'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was an idiot. I was a fool. How could I totally mess up what God had for me? I was the girl that believed God gave me her wedding date. And I'm not going to go into the story about that, but I really believed it. And so I was just like, yeah, he's surely going to want to keep the friendship going. This man was just like, oh, well, been real. It's been fun. And even though he was still living in New York City and working at our church, and he was not paying me any attention. Holidays were coming up and I tried to, text to say, hey, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas. He did not want anything to do with me. And so I really had to let it go. And it was really hard. I was devastated because for a long time, I was like, wow, I'm finally getting to experience what everybody else experienced and the love. And when I tell you love, I mean, listen, the cutesy little, I love you. No, I love you. No, I love you too. No, I love you. No, I can't wait to see. Oh my gosh, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. No, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. It's just like, this is great. We're going to start premarital counseling. And for any Christian girl that grew up in the church, you're like, well, if you made it to premarital counseling, like you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And it was just the whole thing. Anyways, so I was devastated. I honestly felt like it was the most depressed I'd ever been in my life because I just had so much planned. I was planning on moving to California. I had taken a few trips out there to see where I was going to live and imagine what life was going to be. There's just so much details. I'll spare you. But that hurt so bad. I was so proud about it. He announced it to the entire church. We told our friends in Israel. They wrote about it. It was just like what I thought would have been the perfect story. Like, we can tell our kids that we knew each other in junior high school. And so yeah, I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was so embarrassed. And for me as a Christian youth, I was just like, man, do I really know the voice of God? Did I really hear him? Is this what he wanted for my life? If it is, why would he put me through such embarrassment? Blame God. Blamed everybody. I was just mad. I was so mad. I was hurt, disappointed. Talk about not eating. I didn't feel like eating at all. I wasn't happy for a long time. I would still go to church and just hide, because people will say some insensitive things sometimes. And I'm just like, that ain't what I want. I had people come up to me, tell me I dreamt that you guys broke up.
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh, really? Okay, thanks. Like, just, even his best friend at one point was like, oh, like, he's really going through it. I was like, well, I'm going through it. And it's his fault I'm going through it. And he was like, could you consider taking him back? And I'm like, I don't even think you know the full story. And it was just so much. And so I definitely was like, you know what? Forget this whole Christian thing. Forget this whole waiting till your marriage thing. Forget this ain't real. It's all a lie. They sell it to you with a big red bow on it in this church, and they just make it seem like this is how it's going to go and how it should be. And I was just like not having it. I didn't want to hear nobody's doctrine. I didn't want to hear nobody's I kiss dating goodbye. Like, I wasn't there for it at all.
There was a lot of backlash for that as well, for that book, Kiss Dating Goodbye, but that's another topic. But literally me and you broke up with your fiance, but you did it because you guys were having problems and you thought that by you doing that, he would change and be like, okay.
And seriously, honestly, up until that point, I didn't think that we went through anything serious that was worth breaking up the engagement over and ending the friendship and the relationship entirely, right? Because I think there's a difference between saying, hey, let's just put off getting married for a moment versus let's end the relationship completely and never talk to each other again. And matter of fact, it like avoid each other when we see each other on the street. Like, I was just about to like plan my life,
Right.
the rest of my life with you.
Right.
So it's serious. And then the backlash of what people thought happened in the relationship, what didn't happen in the relationship, and I mean all these assumptions about who I was, the kind of girl I was. It was a little team too much. Like, y'all are doing way too much. There were some people I wanted to fight, like for real. For real. But yeah, we not gonna get into that right now though.
Yeah, for me, I was engaged too. The person that I was engaged to, I knew him since junior high as well. So I was in that relationship for 6 years. So that's like junior high, high school, beginning of college, like, going through the major events with that person. And then it's like, you just felt in your spirit that something wasn't right. You informed that person, hey, I'm seeing something. I think this is not correct. Can you let me know? And then you you let that person know, and then it's like, you're the crazy one. It's not true. And then the person just acts like, just goes ghost, and they're not acting like themselves whatsoever.
I cannot imagine being with someone for 6 years and then all of a sudden they have no desire to talk to me anymore.
Yeah.
And you don't hear from them anymore. Like, I'm sorry. I care about you. I love you. Are you alive? Like,
right.
Are you kidding me? Like,
that's what was a little weird to me. It was just like, he kind of like just went ghost for a while. And he said because he was in the military, and he said he was like on some mission, but that wasn't true. It was a lie, because I just felt like there's no way he's on a mission. I found a number to his base. I tried to get in contact, and supposedly I found the number to his base. I called it, and surprisingly, the person who answered the phone was his roommate.
Wow.
Which, like, out of nowhere. You see, like, that's how crazy it was. And he was just like, oh, he's here. Oh, no, we're not on no mission. I was just like, wait, what?
Wow.
Yeah. So it was just like, it was just a lot. And he just went off on me when, like, don't call me, don't do this, don't do that. And then out of nowhere, he was just like, oh, I don't think I could do this anymore. And I was just like, okay. And for me, I was so hurt by that I was like crying.
Right.
And
yeah, of course.
I literally begged him to come back. Like, literally was like, why? We've been through so much. Like, come on, we're planning this wedding, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was bawling. I was leaving him messages like, don't do this. We could work this out, type of thing. And then, like, how you tend to, grieve and want that person. And then like, I had his passwords to everything. I was looking at stuff, and I saw something that confirmed something for me. And
if I could go back
down,
honestly, because I remember we kind of sort of was going through this in
around the same time.
Yeah, like not exactly at the same time. Shoot, y'all, we wanted the same wedding planner. Okay, like, it was just like. But anyways, at least we kind of had each other to go through that with a little bit. But if we could go back in time, I also think that, like, man, sometimes we didn't, like, we really just didn't know how to function through these things.
No.
Like, nobody taught us how to, like, just be chill. Don't go through the emails. Don't go, like, I kind of wish I just had, like, a big sister or somebody to just be like, man, like, listen, and just sit me down and have a conversation with me and just be like, it'll be all right, you'll be fine.
I had one person, I did, but I just felt like that wasn't enough for me. It was my mom and Wanda was an amazing lady, and I love her so much. She's like my second mom, but I felt like I needed more. That was just like, It was nothing.
There is nothing like a mom, for real. Like, they are praying for you in the midnight hour when you're sleeping or you balled up crying or whatever. They're there, right? But it's like we wanted a peer. We wanted someone who could relate to us.
Right.
And let me just, little backstory here. My mother is a Jamaican woman, strong, very friendly and sometimes aggressive, but friendly aggressive. She the type of woman that would dream your business before it even happens.
Right. That's how all West Indians are. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. But she was also a teen mom, and she had to learn a lot of things the hard way, but also just through common sense. They weren't taught like relational things, health, like it's just a lot. So without that knowledge, she couldn't pass that down to me either. And oftentimes it's easy to criticize your child for the choices they make, but then don't teach them how to make those choices.
Hmm.
And I think when it comes to relationships too, it could be all good and dandy, like, especially in a church. I just don't feel that that's what the Lord wants for your life. Or I don't think that's the Lord leading. Or, okay, that's fine. But at the same time, I think you may be a little biased because you're a relative.
Mm.
I think even though in that season they were there for us, it might have not been as objective as it could have been. That would like help us receive correction, counsel, guidance a little better, if that makes
Mm.
sense. I did
Mm.
have someone like a big sis there at the time, um, but I don't. My words are gonna fail me. But to me, it wasn't enough, and I kind of felt like it was more a little critiquey
Mm.
than just. I needed compassion. I needed somebody to be empathetic.
Mm. I feel like I know what you're saying. I feel like for me, I think my mom, I would say she was that. I feel like she kind of let me go through it without her telling me stuff. She wanted me to figure it out, as I feel like, on my own, but she let me cry it out. She let me I remember when I found that letter on his email or whatever, and I fell into a ball, and I was just
Wow.
like, my mom just sat there and she just let me cry. But it just showed me how much I didn't realize how much it affected me, because I would see people and people would just be like, wow, you lost so much weight. Like, I lost so much weight. I
Mm.
was very depressed. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really have friends because I felt like I was always devoting so much time to that person, and instead of being around my friends too, which is a
Well, yeah, you was
problem.
about to become somebody's wife. It
Right.
like you have to learn how to juggle that.
Right.
So
It's a
it's like,
balance.
yeah.
It's
So
different
I
too when you
understand.
get married. So it's a lot of things. There's a lot of things
Yeah,
that
we
encompass
we
it.
know that now. And if I'm honest, looking back, I don't think I would have been able to handle some of those things well at such a young age. And I thank God so hard that I think at the time it was only Facebook. And even then, it was kind of like, I'm trying really hard not to put my business out here, but
Right.
everything was just so public at that
Right.
time.
Right.
It was just like, oh my gosh. But let me ask, how did you overcome the heartache and the depression? Because I'm telling you, for weeks, I would have this one friend, shout out to Jermaine, loved him. He would see me every Friday night because I volunteered at the church at the information desk. And he would come over and he'd be like, how you doing, sis? And I'm like,
Mm.
not today. And I'm pretty sure after a while, because I could tell in his face, he was like, Dad, still. But I know that he was very cautious about that because he was just like, I'm here for you.
Right.
But every week, and I will never forget the day that I was like, today was a good day. I mean, it was a couple months later. But I just remember thinking, dang, it took me so long to get here.
Right. It takes
So
a while.
what did
Because
you
there's
do
no
to
there's no there's no time frame for healing. For me, to be honest, I I'm married and I'm still getting over it. And that sounds weird, but it's true because you become insecure with certain things. Like
Yeah.
you're just cautious with a lot of things. And you don't even realize that pain. That's why I say like pain really can play effect on your life and you don't even realize it. And that's why you have to really deal with it. For me, I feel like it took me 4 years. I didn't jump back into a relationship. I didn't jump right back into a relationship at all. I stayed by myself. I tried to figure out myself again. I was with this person for 6 years. That's a long time. So like I was with this person since I was like what, 15, 16, 15, like till I was 21, like turning 22, going like 6.5 years, going to 7
Let me
years.
just say, people are gonna be like, "Girl, what? Man, live your 20s."
Right. But let me tell you,
for
I really,
us, it was a little different.
it was
A
different.
lot different.
I know a
Like,
lot of
we
people think
wanted
you're
the young
too young.
love. Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Like people think, oh, you're too young. Like live your life. You don't know what love is. Listen, I prayed for my
I don't believe
spouse, and I
that's
was
true.
like,
I don't believe that's exactly. I
you know
think
what
it's
I mean?
different.
I feel like I feel like for me, it's not like dating around and partying and doing that stuff. That was just I just lived a different type of
Kissing a
lifestyle.
bunch of frogs until you meet your prince.
Right.
No.
Like I
We're not
just
about
lived a
that life.
different, a different
Or
lifestyle.
try not to be about that life. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. For me, personally speaking.
Yeah, of course. So like for me it took 4 years. My mom told me to take care of myself. So I would go to church with my mother. I would sit with her. I would go to lunch with her. I would just try to, I didn't want anything to do with God, to be honest with you, too. I was pissed. I was angry because I was just like, I thought you said this was the person I'm marrying. I had this future planned and then everything's ruined. And I was angry with God. And I didn't even want to be in church, but my mom forced me to go. And I would just sit there. But little did I know that just being under the word was slowly healing me, and I didn't realize it. Taking care of myself, like you said, going to get my hair done, my nails done, like building my confidence up again was a huge thing for me.
Right.
Like building confidence, getting my nails done, getting my hair done, learning who I am again, finding my friends again, figuring out what is it that Ayana likes and what is Ayana going to tolerate going forward and what is she not going to tolerate. What do I want in a man and what do I not want in an individual?
I'm gonna ask, did your thought of marriage change? Like, did it scare you? Like, oh, I don't know about this marriage thing, because if you could do this before we even get, like, because to me at the time, I was like, wait a minute, do I want to get married? Like, am I, because could you imagine if I got married and you did this after?
Right.
I don't know if this is what I want at all, period.
Yeah.
Like, when I tell you I question everything, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think you should assess everything.
Of course.
Analyze, examine, test them spirits, everything. Sorry, I jumped the gun a little bit, but I just wanted to know, in that season of you trying to rebuild, did you have to rebuild that as well? Because I think I did. I had to redefine a few things.
I did, because I realized I was very materialistic when it came to, I really realized that marriage is not based on just a wedding day. So I feel like I think I was always focused on the wedding day, not really thinking of afterwards, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, as a lot of women don't. I think, funny enough, I think I was too focused on the marriage and not the wedding. So much so that I was just like, oh, we don't even have to have a big wedding. We don't even have to have a honeymoon. Like,
I wanted a wedding.
Nonsense.
I wanted everything. I was going over the top.
We needed. That's not over the top. But I'm saying, I think, I was just like, no, we need to be practical. We need living room furniture. We don't need to be in Hawaii somewhere. Like, we could take a trip, but we're just getting to know each other and enjoy each other. So I was just like, that could happen. Like, vacations will come.
See, I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't thinking about we have to get a house. We have to like our finances. I wasn't thinking about that. So I feel like in that sense, yes, I needed to mature. So I really wasn't probably ready in
Right.
that sense. And that's why I feel like God knows all things, because it's funny when you feel like you're finally getting better and you finally get to a good place and you're like, wow, I'm learning myself. I think it was like a few months, like probably 4 months, like since that breakup. And I like went to Georgia and I was doing like school stuff, like for law and all this other jazz. And I deleted his phone number out of my, phone. I threw away some stuff that he gave me, like, because I feel like if you keep that, is
Oh, for
you need to
sure.
learn
Yeah,
to
you need to
just
be
let
free from
go.
some of that stuff.
Right. So I
Yeah.
gave him back his ring. I gave him back his promise ring. I gave him back everything. And
So did I.
he got mad at
You
me
got
for
a
that.
promise ring? Oh, that was so cute. I always wanted a promise ring. Shout out to all the Christians that remember Brio magazines and
I
they used to talk
cannot.
about it in the Purity Pledge. Shout out to y'all. I
I
tell you,
cannot
I'm
deal.
about church culture though. But anyways, nah, you do have to I got rid of the cards that he sent me
Yep.
from when we were
Cards, letters.
I'm not even gonna lie, that hurt a little bit too, because I was like, but what happened if we get back together? But then I'll be mad if we threw it out. And
Right.
that could have
Right.
just been an artifact that we could have honestly, when I finally released it, the picture, the letter, all the little trinkets, I felt like, wow.
It was a weight.
It,
Yeah. It's a weight lifted.
it's a good way to heal also
It is.
and move forward. Emotionally, how so okay, let's talk about it a little bit because we're Christian girls. We were mad at God and we weren't trying to hear anything he had to say. I think after that, it set me in this mode of, I don't even think I want to hear from you anymore.
Mm.
And by you, I mean God. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, you know what? Because I think anything you have to say to me, you're going to hurt me. You're going to hurt my feelings. Like, I think I'm even too scared to let my guards down to you. And so, I mean, this is God we're talking about. He's all knowing. But I almost didn't want to give him access to my heart anymore when it comes to relationships. I'll still be in ministry. I'll still go to church. You know, I'll still be good. I won't drink. I won't smoke. Like, you know, the little
You're not
things
the only one who
that
went through that.
you know what I mean? So even I kind of felt like I had to heal my relationship with God too.
Of course.
And then we maybe could talk about another human being. However, it would have been nice if I did that separately. But, you know, I made some poor choices. I hit up some old friends. I'm not going to act like I was sitting somewhere like a monk or in some temple, you know, becoming one with the earth and one with... I was just like, hey, how you doing? All right, I see you. It just became this, you know what? This is why
I'm
you
gonna do
shouldn't
me.
tie down to anybody. Yeah. And so that didn't really work out well either, if I'm going to be honest. But I did find myself in some ways in that type of way. Like, I met a guy at my school. We started talking, led to dating. And then I was like, wow, he showed me something that I do want in a relationship. I didn't find it in this person. Even though I still wasn't sure that I wanted a relationship or a marriage or anything permanent anyways. But while we on the ride, I'm enjoying it. I think that's so bad. But again, you just can't help knowing what you don't know. Like, I just didn't know. I was trying to figure it all out. I was trying to figure out the emotions.
And it's okay. And that's the thing. That's the reason, that's the whole point of healing. And like, you're gonna make mistakes. There's no right way to heal whatsoever. Like, for you felt like, okay, then screw that, I'm gonna just do me and go out and find, meet other people. That was your way of coping at the time, even though you realized it didn't help out, it didn't work for you.
True, but let's rewind. I wasn't really looking for anybody. It was more like, oh, I see you looking at me and you like me. So since you're giving me attention,
right,
I will give you the opportunity to give it to me.
Right.
And
But
I will receive it.
It was your way of
looking, because it honestly shut me down from guys, period. But it was like, well, fine. If you feel like you want to spend your money on me, then I'm gonna let you. Or if you feel like talking to me, or
It's your sense of validation. You felt good in
it
that
did,
sense.
it did, for real. It did.
That was your way of kind of coping, and that's okay. Some people do. Like for me, I didn't want anything to do with dudes. I did not want to talk to anyone. I was angry.
Right.
I was literally, I was a mess. So it was like I was already depressed.
As was I. As
There
was
was
I.
no one could talk to me. That was it. Like I would smile, but I was already in a state like my mind wasn't where I wanted it to be.
Wanted it to be. I gotcha.
Yeah. So like for me, I had to learn how to just like some of the ways to heal and to become a better you just have to have like, self-positive talk. Know your worth. I am a great somebody. I am beautiful.
I even had to learn that again too. So moving forward, after I stopped, and by fooling around, I'm not talking about doing anything physically with these gentlemen, but after I started taking myself seriously, I realized that, you know what, I need to get my mind right, and I need to focus on my future and what I want out of life. And so I did have a friend who really influenced, who was very influential in my life. That led me to read. I was not big into self-help books, Christian books, nothing. Like none of it. I don't want to read nothing. Y'all don't know what you're talking about. I tried it the Christian way, it didn't work. But I really fell in love with reading, and Barnes and Nobles was my escape, let me tell you. And I started to enjoy being by myself.
Exactly.
And I think that was part of it too. Like I never knew how to, I just want to premise by saying, I think it's okay to be alone, but it's not okay to be lonely.
Right.
And I think there's a difference with saying, you know what, it's okay to want love and want attention and affection and all of that. But let's go work on loving ourselves first so that we'll be able to adequately love someone else.
Right.
So I fell in love with going to Barnes and Nobles. I fell in love with reading. I read so many books, and a lot of it had to do with relationships. And I wasn't even trying to fall into relationship books, but I fell in love with getting to know God's character. So I would read books by Gary Chapman and Dr. Dobson and Ed Young. I really fell in. It really helped me. So my daughter's awake.
It's okay.
Nap time is over. But no, I fell in love with reading, and ultimately I fell in love with myself. I still had to overcome a lot though. I did. But it was a start.
And I think you said something that was really good. Just it's a good thing to just, I guess, learning to love yourself, then be alone in that space. I think I liked as well being by myself at the moment. I was like I said, it was like finding myself again, learning what I love, what I enjoy, what makes me happy.
So what
Reading was making me happy.
Your single life like?
Singleness. Like I said, I was going out with my friends. I was like doing adventurous things. I didn't have to answer to anyone. So it was just like, cool, yeah. I can do what I want. You know what I mean? So it was a nice way to just not have to pick up the phone and say, hi, what are you doing? Like, good morning. Like, you know what I mean? I struggled with depression. I already know that. I have my moments where sometimes I have my high moments and my low moments. Right. I know that I struggle with it. Like, I just go into seclusion.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I was really in my thoughts in my head. And that's where it's dangerous. Like, that's why I say you have to really find friends who will just encourage you, have those positive affirmations, even if you have to write it on the wall, or look yourself in the mirror and say, you know, I'm this, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy of relationship. Take care of yourself. My mom would always just be like, whenever you go outside, look good. So I would put on my makeup. Like for me, my therapy was like putting on my makeup, getting my hair done, taking more care of the way I look just for me, not for no one else. And it really helps me.
I wasn't really, man, I had a lot of phases. There might be one day where I was just full on skater, and then there's probably another day where I was like, you'd probably think I was goth. Like, I think everybody had that moment in the journey of self-discovery. But I think what helped me eventually, I got a really good group of friends, and we just enjoyed each other's company and friendship. Throwing fellowships, throwing parties, going to concerts and conferences, and by concerts, I mean depending on who your favorite artist
right?
is.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying
music. That's what I said. Music. Anything you listen to,
influences wisely.
Anything that you put into your mind, you just got to be cognizant about. Like for me, it was a lot. I had to get rid of. I used to love Bobby Valentino, and my ex at the time always used to dedicate Bobby Valentino songs to me. So I had to get rid of all the Bobby Valentino songs that I liked.
He ruined Bobby V for you, girl.
He just ruined Bobby V for me. He ruined it.
Hate when they do that.
Oh my gosh, I just hated it. Like any of those musics, I had to get out of my, my iPad or my iPod or whatever. Like my playlist, that was out because I didn't want any memories trigger. You know what I mean?
Don't you hate that? Don't you hate that? Like there's some food I can't even order at restaurants no more. Like you ruined it for me. That was our thing. We used to eat spaghetti together and the meatballs and everything, and you ruined it for me.
Yeah, so like, I mean, in order to like get over it and to heal and to become a better you just have to really challenge your thoughts. You have to, be aware that the mind is powerful and that your tongue is very powerful. So you have to really speak life into your situation. Sometimes when you go through situations like that, people automatically assume, oh, I would never be in a relationship again. I can never find love. Or you got to speak those things that are as though they are not, as though they are. Like, you know what I mean? For me, even though I was single, I still wanted to get married. So even though I got over my depression and stuff, I was just like, well, I know going forward, this is what I want. This is what I'm not going to tolerate, but I'm going to get married and I'm getting married. Like, I just would always tell myself that. I didn't know when, but I always encourage myself, like, I'm going to get married. Like, this is going to happen. And that's it.
So let me ask you a question. How did you heal your relationship with God? What did that look like for you?
It really, like, just communication. I would tell him really how I felt. Like, if I was angry, I would just be like, I don't like you today. I don't feel like talking right now. And like, I would just talk. Like, I talk to myself a lot. I know that sounds crazy, but to me, that's just how I get out a lot of things out of my head. And I talk to myself a lot. And that's how I talk to God.
And confessing with the lips.
Right. And I do that with God too. And that's how I feel like I healed my relationship, because I would journal a lot. And then I would look back. Journal, read my word, journal a lot. And honestly, you know what song really got me through that hard time? And I would just repeat it over and over and over. It was a song called Peace and Tranquility by Natalie Wilson. Mm-hmm. And I loved that song. Like, I played the mess out of that song because it just talked about how the Lord would just give you peace and tranquility, or whatever you're going through, it's gonna be, there's greater on the other side. So I always keep playing that song in my head when I would feel down, and it would just make me cry. I would cry it out. And that song really touched me. And I feel like it also reignited my relationship with Christ. So
that's good.
Yeah. I feel like anyone that's going through any of those, like a heartbreak, don't let anyone tell you to bottle up your feelings. Like, let that out. Be able, if you need to cry, cry. If you need to, like, I wouldn't say punch a wall, but if you need to scream, scream. Like, I feel like you shouldn't bottle up your emotions. Mm-hmm. That's where it gets scary. I think you need to be able to take that time to be able to get off social media, because social media just shows you a figure of what people's lives are, but they're not showing you reality. You know what I mean? Date yourself, go to therapy, look at the situation as a lesson and a blessing, because
Right.
I'm honestly not even going to put this dude's business out there, but Ayana dodged the bullets, okay?
Come on, somebody.
I really dodged a bullet. And sometimes you don't know why God allows certain things to happen in your life. But then when you look back, you're like, dang, I got you. You may not understand why you go through things, but it's really to make you better, to make you stronger, and also to be a blessing to others.
I wish I had that. I ain't even gonna lie. I did not have that.
Really?
I didn't get to experience that. I wish. I'm at peace now. I don't think about the situation anymore, but there was definitely a period of time after where I was just like, God, why? And the lesson and the blessing and all these famous sayings, and I'm like, no, I really believe that God said that this was the person for me, like, really. And I for the longest time was like, no, like, there has to be a mistake. And it wasn't because I was desperate to be in a relationship or desperate to be married, even though that is something that I wanted. And there's nothing wrong with that, ladies or gentlemen.
Right.
But I'm not trying to, get too spiritual, but I really felt like there was some things that were prophesied. And I saw it coming to pass even after we ended our relationship. And I was like, yo, this was a dream, or this was a vision, or this, and I was just like, I just don't understand. And I think it was a friend of mine or a relative that somebody said to me and was like, listen, people can choose to leave the will of God every single day. So even if it was something that God had for them, that doesn't mean that what God had for you, you won't get to experience. And I was just like, wow. Because, with marriage, the two shall become one. So you figure it's affected, it's connected. Like, you clearly are half of that equation. So you're not going to get to experience the fullness of what God had for you. But people can choose to leave the will of God every single day. So when I got that little nugget, I was like, wow, okay. And further, I think my relationship with God got to a better place after I got married. I mean, we were always cool. But like, when I got married, I really, first of all, marriage forces you to your knees.
Yes, it does.
More ways than one.
Yes, it does.
Intended. But literally, I was and still am in constant communication with our Heavenly Father, because I have questions for Him daily. Who else but God am I going to talk to about it?
Exactly. It is, what you said is so true. And I think that's what's scaring people, is just like, you opened your heart to someone for you to only get hurt. So why should I want to be open again? And I think that's a lie that people tend to believe in themselves. Is just like, oh, like, I cannot be vulnerable anymore because that person's just going to hurt me. That's why I say, like, you have to really speak life into your tongue. Like, you got to speak life into your words. You can't just speak death over it. Like, yes.
And give time. It is okay to give yourself time. If you have not figured everything out yet, it's okay. If you don't really have anybody around you and it's just you and you, go ahead and figure it out.
No, like you said, taking your time. There's no time limit to healing. If you have to grieve, grieve. So I guess, what do you think are the best methods that an individual can use to heal? I know we discussed it in different like scenarios and different topics of just like how you can get over it, in terms of either like you eat it out, you dance it out, you do whatever you have to do. But according to like Dr. Elizabeth Kolber's 5 stages of grief, like, she states that, there's denial, and then there's anger, and then bargaining, and then depression, sleeplessness, loss of appetite, acceptance, and then just like basically acceptance, like everything. Do you agree with that?
I do. do. A good friend of mine told me about that during the time of my breakup. And he, rest in peace to Ron, he was a really good friend. But he talked about the different stages that you would go through. You would be angry, you would go through the denial, so many different things. And it proved to be true. But I also think in every stage, it's good to go through it and walk it out.
Mm.
You got to get through it. There's no getting over it. Like, you just have to feel it. You have to feel the hurt. You have to feel the pain. You have to feel the anger. You have to just go through that, the thought process, just to help assess everything. And also conclude everything. So what I mean by that is just saying, okay, I'm closing this chapter of my life, and knowing that this door is sealed shut,
Mm.
and that may or may not be the door that I will be walking through again.
Mm. So I guess you just basically have to feel all the emotions that you essentially will be feeling once you go through a heartbreak, but there's basically no time limit to that. Like,
There isn't, but I do say, or I do believe that you can't wallow in your pity or state of sadness or um, anything for too long, because I think it gets a little sticky. You can go into a cycle of anxiety or depression or a downward spiral. So if the length of time that you're grieving a loss of a relationship or something, if you're in that process for so long that you're not healing, that you're not getting to a place of not even just happiness but wholeness, then you may be walking in the wrong direction for too long. So time in that matter is subjective for an individual on when they feel they should be okay and over everything. But if time is not proving to heal all wounds, if they say, um, then you're probably walking in the wrong direction.
what do you mean by walking in the wrong direction? How can someone, I guess, get out of that, like, solemnness and seclusion? Like, what do you mean by walking in that wrong direction? If you could please elaborate.
Yeah, so let me give you an example. If you're in a relationship where you and your partner have been together for years and years and years, you and your partner was together for 6 years, right? So that significant amount of time, it takes time to, you know, separate yourself from the person, the patterns, the habits, everything, the things that you guys used to do together, right? So there is a season of you having to heal and grieve the loss of that intimate time together or whatever. But if in the time that's passing since you guys been together and all of that ended, and you're not finding yourself again, if you're not healing, if you're just mad all the time, if you're just angry all the time, if you're just in denial, like, yeah, we're going to get back together and everything's just going to be okay, but things aren't progressing that way, it's probably not a healthy place to be in. So I think it's more so the state of where you are more than the time.
Mm.
If
And if
that makes
someone, I'm sorry to cut you off. So if someone is, I guess, in that state, I think the best um, um, resource that they could possibly take is probably go to therapy, right?
Therapy is fabulous, darling. It is fabulous. Okay. Therapy is great. If you cannot afford a therapist, look into the ones that volunteer. Churches are wonderful places to find volunteer counselors.
Right.
Some of them are actually licensed, but they cannot be held accountable or liable, whatever, because it's separate from the organization. So, but they know what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's great. Find a big sis, a big brother, somebody that you may look up to, somebody that you trust, to just give you some good guidance, some wisdom, to help you just navigate the little murky waters of life, period. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I think therapy is great. Journaling is fabulous. Sometimes it's good to see your thoughts on paper, tear it up, burn it. Sometimes that in and of itself is just a great way to release. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think those are some great. Me, I'm a dancer in my house, not for Holly. So don't come for me if you see me on the streets and my clothes aren't quite pointed. Okay. But dancing, finding something that you can fully just express all your emotions, working out, putting all that pent up, built up negative and positive energy into
Right.
getting it right and tight. That works too. If
Nice
you want
outlet.
it, go for it. Run on cardio in Central Park. Have at it. You know what I mean? I think
Exactly.
there are many different great ways a person can cope, can heal, that's productive. Okay. I'm not judging anybody, but let's stay away from the addictive type habits like the alcohols or
Mhm.
prescription drugs or
Mhm.
stuff like that, you know.
Or just getting up under another person.
Oh yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that, because what we don't want to do is take somebody else down with us. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Especially as a Christian, I have to now I'm in a way better place and a way more mature place than I was younger and foolish and immature. But I cannot look at my brother in the Lord and just be like, you know what? I'm gonna take him down with me and just
right.
unleash all manners of foolish, nonsensical, just behaviors, and I just not good. So we do have to be mindful that what we are sharing with somebody else, we don't want to unload that on them either. Like we don't want to do that, and we don't want to use or manipulate anybody. That's not okay. That is not cool. So yeah, as a believer, no matter what part, whatever stage you are in your walk with God, it's important to know that one of the biggest ways to heal is in prayer. Hold on, there's a scripture that I want to look up real quick so I can add that because it's really important to back these things up with the word. Okay. So I think it's really important for any believer, no matter what stage of life they're in, when it comes to healing, it's important that we allow Christ to do the work, right? We will fall short, but it's only through His Holy Spirit that can actually help heal us. The Bible says in Psalms 147:3, He heals the brokenhearted and bandages their wounds. He's close to us, especially when we're going through something. So I think the power of prayer is essential to any stage of life and any part of our walk. So for sure, when it comes to healing, we need to be on our knees in prayer. It's very important. It also helps us to um, gain clarity and insight into the situation that we might be going through or whatever occurrence we might be experiencing. Sometimes the Lord could just give us a whisper and be like, hey, you know, that's not my will, that's your will. Or hey, you know what, that's exactly what I want you to experience, but it's going to produce something in you. It's refining you. This situation is actually going to bring glory to my name. So all that to say, one of the ways that we should definitely consider healing first and foremost is through prayer.
Mm, of course. Through prayer. And even if you don't even know how to pray, um, it's just talking to God, just like how you talk to me, your friends, your family members. Literally, it's just talking to God. You don't need any like type of accolade or type of reference to speak to the Lord. It's just literally a personal relationship when you're just talking to the Lord. So for people that's not even saved, like I said before, just try to give the Lord a try. Like I agree with what Octavia is saying. Just like I stated in earlier in my podcast, um, I didn't want to go to church. I didn't want anything to do with the Lord when I was going through my heartbreak. But because my mom forced me and I was just under the word, like it slowly was repairing me without even me knowing it. So prayer
Right.
works. Prayer, like everything, it just works.
And I think sometimes when you're in it, it just feels like it will never end. Like this pain will never go away. Like, when will I get over this? When will my healing come? When will I see the things I've been praying for? Because there are some people who have been praying from the very start. Like the relationships we were in, we were praying. It's not like we weren't, you know what I mean? So I understand that there are definitely some times where it's just like, God, I don't hear you. Where are you? Because this pain is so real right now. And as far as I'm concerned, you're the one that's making it happen. So I understand also that there are moments where it seems like God is silent, but he isn't. He is never not working on our behalf.
Preach. Say it again.
Amen. For the people in the back, he is never, I mean, never, ever not working on our behalf.
Wow.
All things work together for our good.
Amen.
If you love him.
Try him. Great. I love that.
Yeah.
Good.
I just thought about something else. Owning maybe the things we did wrong or could have done better, or we just weren't knowledgeable about. And so therefore it's going to lead to us getting our own feelings hurt, you know? And so I also be accountable and put in that work to make sure that, hey, you know what? This is not what I want for my life, and I don't want to see this pattern to continue. So I definitely am going to put in the work to make changes.
Right. That's what I said. So like, look at yourself in the mirror as well, and also just say, okay, during this time of the season of singleness, I'm going to focus on, my attitude. I'm going to focus on some of the things that I know that I could have done better in my previous relationship, just to prepare you for your next relationship. So own up to, yes, like some of the stuff that you've done, or some of the reasons or the issues that you may have ended up in that situation. Like, I know for a fact it was hard for me to look at myself in the mirror and be like, no, this is some of it is my fault. I was like, no, it's all his fault. But I had my issues as well. At the same time, I needed to mature. So and that takes a lot of guts too, admitting it to yourself. So you have to come to that realization.
I think part of this journey too is also preparation for marriage. However, I don't think there's any amount of preparation that can help you you just gonna have to learn some things in marriage.
Of course. There is going to be seasons in each of our lives that may involve mourning, that may involve laughter, that may involve happiness, that may involve heartbreaks. And that all is essentially what being a human is, and what we were put on this earth to basically experience. And it's unfair that we have to go through heartbreak sometimes. And sometimes, you may not necessarily understand why things have to happen the way that they do. But like I stated previously, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. Like, all things work together for the good. So yes, in that season that you're hurting, in that season that you're going through in heartbreak, it may seem like if you cannot come out on the other side, but you will. And there is no right time frame for healing. It's personal and it takes time. So what I essentially want you all to remember is that don't dwell on your past hurts. Look at it as an experience, a life lesson, and you move on. What you really want to do is forgive those who has hurt you, and forgive yourself. Because once you forgive, it's like a weight or burden lifted off of your shoulders. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this topic. I know this was a really long episode today, but I really hope that you guys got a lot out of it. We're really going to be, like I said, diving into some sensitive topics, and we're really going to be just discussing, because I feel like a lot of people need to have, conversations about stuff like this. In my next episode, I definitely want to kind of go in a little bit more into how it's also, I feel, the church responsibility to have a safe space for young adults and young people to be able to express themselves and, let them know like, hey, I'm feeling this way. I like this person. I feel like there's not a lot of, safe space out there in the church. You know what I mean? But that's another topic, guys. It was a pleasure having you on my podcast.
Thank you so much, babe.
You
so
are
fun.
Amazing.
Oh, thank you. Gassing me up. I'll take it. Thank you so much for letting me join your podcast. This has been fun. It's been great to reminisce.
Of course. And honestly, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's interesting to know that, like, I actually thought we went through the same thing, but it's so funny that we actually didn't. So it was interesting to like realize that, wow, we had like different stories that were similar, but we both went through heartbreak and we were able to get over it. How long do you feel that it took you to get over it?
I mean, getting over the relationship and the person, it didn't take me too long. It was more so like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this with this person. I'm not going to be able to do that with this person. So it was more so not having to let go of the person, but just the experiences and the lifestyle. And that took me longer to get over, if I'm honest, than the actual person. All love. I love the family dearly. You know what I mean? I wish them no harm or anything. Like, I don't. Like, all love in my heart. Known them since I was a kid. But yeah, it's time to move on.
Time to move on. Yes, you hear that, everyone? So don't wallow in your heartbreak. You can get over it. It takes time, but you have to really look yourself in the mirror and realize that you are that person, okay? You are that person that is worthy of love. You are gorgeous. You are beautiful. You are handsome. You are strong. You're royalty. Always know that at all costs. When you look into the mirror, you must accept that. Everyone goes through seasons in life, and that's just really what it is. So again, we would like to thank Octavia for joining us today. She's going to be on my podcast a little more too. You're going to hear a little bit more through her in my podcast. You know what I'm saying?
More stories, more where that came
more
from.
stories. So thank you so much for joining us today. And it was a little spiritual for some people who may not be spiritual, but it's the truth. The ultimate person of the ultimate person of true love is God. He's the author of love. And sometimes you may say, I don't believe in God, but just look around you. Just look at the trees. Just look at nature. Just look at the air that you breathe. You may not see air, but you're breathing, right? You may not see the oxygen or the CO2 that's coming out of you, but you know it's there, right? And that's just the whole thing about God too. You may not feel him, you may not see him physically, but he's there. And he will show you and he will teach you what true love is. And even if you say, hey, I'm not a believer, I don't believe in that, I dare you to try it. You know what I mean? I dare you to try it. I dare you to take a leap of faith. Like, all you need is faith the size of a mustard seed. Have you ever seen the size of a mustard seed? It is literally so tiny. It's like literally like a speck of a seed. So tiny. And that's all you need. That's all you need. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, and I really look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Please subscribe to my channel. Tell others about this page, and tell others about this podcast. Just know that it's just generally a community of men and women to be able to, talk about relationships and situationships and anything that is considered relational. We'll definitely also dive into topics that are geared towards marriage, because that is also another bubble that we will get into. But again, thank you guys for listening. And if you guys have any questions or anything of that sort, please email me, therelationshipremedy@gmail.com. I look forward to seeing some of your questions, and subscribe to the Relationship Therapy channel. Love y'all. Bye. Have a blessed one.